We are your local election headquarters. Every day this week, we're breaking down a different ballot issue you will vote on in November. And now today, we look at issue 2, voter ID. You already have to show an ID at the polls, but KARK4's Jessi Turnure joins us in studio with how this goes a step further.
Yeah, issue 2 would essentially strengthen what's already on the books by making it part of the Constitution. And here to talk about these merits is Representative Mark Lowry, who sponsored the state law, and then Representative Charles Blake, who voted against it. And so, Representative Lowry, let's start with you. Why do Arkansans need to vote for this?
Well, in 2016, the Gallup poll found that 30% of Americans do not trust the integrity and the honesty of elections. And so I think in a democratic society, we should do everything we can to enhance the integrity of the electoral process. And that's what voter verification does. And it doesn't disenfranchise voters, because one of the provisions that is in the law that was upheld by the Supreme Court and will be put into the actual amendment once it is passed is that if you don't have an ID, and one can be provided for free by Secretary of State's office, you can sign a sworn statement attesting to your identity. So we just feel like it strikes a balance of making sure that we protect the integrity without disenfranchising voters.
So even with some of those measures in place too, where people don't have to vote, you know, even immediately right there with their ID, you're still against it?
Yes, it's one of the issues. Issue 2 has many issues, but one of the main issues is that it's creating another obstacle, a hurdle, discouraging people from voting. What voter ID would, in theory, what it would do, it would stop voter impersonation fraud, where you couldn't go vote for someone else. That doesn't happen. So we're finding a solution for a non-problem. If everyone is concerned about this integrity and security of elections, there are plenty of ways where we can strengthen and make sure we are having the most secure election process, like starting at voter registration. At the registration, we could go where you are changing address, or are getting a new ID, or getting a driver's license. We could verify who you are there. We have systems now that can flow from the Office of Driver Services right to the election tables. So there are plenty of options that we have to verify and to secure our elections that don't have to do with making people worried about having a ID. And the issue that we have now is that some IDs aren't acceptable. A state ID, a college ID, a passport, yes, but a city ID, no. So we're creating different classes and making a difference in those who can vote, or who have the option to have that voter ID.
And really quick too, before we go, people are arguing that this, strengthens the law by putting it in the Constitution. But I mean, do you think that this will be the end of legal challenges, really? Because that seems to be all that has been with the voter ID law, even years past.
Well, I think it is the end of legal challenges. The Supreme Court very clearly, by a 5-2 vote, upheld the act. Constitutional amendment even strengthens that by putting it into the Constitution. And we will be coming back in the legislative session after, the polling shows only 20% of Arkansans are opposed to it. And that includes the people who supported a large percentage of Democrats. So the question I would ask is, of the 20% that are opposed, who is it that they want to vote, that don't have IDs or aren't willing to sign a statement? That's the big question that needs to be asked.
People who have the legal right to vote. We already have a set of criteria to be able to vote. You have to be a citizen, you have to be eligible, and you have to be of voting age. That is our right. Voting is our right. We should not be creating new requirements on something that is fundamental to our Constitution. So I don't think that this would be the end of legal challenges. I mean, whenever, and you see it all across the nation, whenever you are disenfranchising, whenever you are making it more difficult to carry out your rights, there are going to be challenges.
Representative Blake, Representative Lowry, thank you so much for coming in and breaking down one of 5 issues. Voters will have a lot to consider come November 6th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
And stay with us. We're back with more news and weather right after this.